Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RunDot podcast. In the running world, the Boston Marathon is a pretty big deal. It's on the bucket list for most marathoners. So today, I have a RunDot coach joining the show to talk to us about how to qualify for Boston and make the most of it when we do. Our coach is Brady Hoover. He's been on the show with me quite a bit. Hey, Brady.
Hey.
Brady has raced the Boston Marathon 9 times already, and he'll be towing the line on Marathon Monday for his 10th this coming Monday. Yay! Also, Brady has coached many of his athletes to their own BQs. Brady is an ACSM certified personal trainer and a 2:48 marathoner. And like I said, has coached runners and even triathletes for many years. I'm Carrie. I'm an Olympian, broadcaster, and your guide to the world of RunDot. We treat the show like any good workout. We'll start with our warm-up question, settle into our main set conversation, and then wind things down by having Coach Brady answer an audience question on the cool down. Lots of good stuff, so let's get after it.
This is the RunDot podcast, the running show that brings you world-class coaching with every conversation. Let's get started with today's warm-up.
All right, Brady, here's the warm-up question before we even get into Boston stuff. The warm-up question. Most races give their finishers a medal or a token of some kind to commemorate their achievement of crossing the finish line. For our warm-up question today, I'm curious, what finish line medal or keepsake is in your collection, and it's your favorite one, Brady? So tell us which one it is.
And it can't be my Boston medals.
It can be whatever you want.
Well, since we're recording about the Boston Marathon, I'll go a very unique one. In 2015, I did this thing called, because Big Sur is a very popular marathon and it's a lottery and it's hard to get into. There is no qualifying times for that one. So the ways to get into it is lottery, or you run Boston in 6 days, or depending on the year, 13 days later. It's called Boston to Big Sur. And they usually have about 250 bibs for that. And usually they don't overfill that. So pretty much if you're running Boston, go in there and apply. You do have to do a marathon back to back. I mean, the year I did it in 2015, it was 6 days apart. It seems like every other year, it's just the date that Boston falls on and Big Sur falls on. If I thought about it a little bit more, I would have given myself 13 days, but hey, go big or go home. When you do finish, they have a fantastic medal out of clay, and you get a second medal out of clay that says Boston to Big Sur, as well as it was a maroon jacket that year that says Boston to Big Sur. And even with the training, they give you a T-shirt to let everybody know that you're training for the Boston to Big Sur challenge. So I got to say that whole, that whole swag was well worth it, and I'm very proud of it.
You know, I have never heard this. Like, I'm in the running world like crazy, right? But sometimes because I do the commentary, because I was this athlete that was more on the elite side, like, I don't know all the fun things that happen. Like, it is fun to be an elite runner. It's fun to be super fast. But at the same time, we miss out on kind of some of these cool opportunities, you know? So this is new to me.
These like bucket list things, or you've got I don't know if I have the intention to do it, but maybe when I get older, like the run a marathon in every state, things like that. There's just so many fun challenges out there, and folks are always raising the bar. That's what keeps the sport fun. And as we slow down and we get older, there's other opportunities out there for us to just keep going.
Yeah, I love it. One of my favorite things, like I love some medals and things like that, but I'm not really a keepsake person. Like you don't see any of my medals anywhere. You actually see my husband's medals everywhere. And so I don't even know where they are. Charlie knows where all my stuff is, but I had fun one year. I was pregnant and I was pretty far along, had a pretty big belly. And my husband, Charlie, ran the race with me, and it was a turkey trot, and he had to run with a turkey. And so because I was pregnant, it was kind of the equalizer, right? So I thought that was pretty fun. We got to take the turkey home. I think we made a different turkey that day, but I think that's always a fun thing to do too. So guys out there, if you ever want to run and see what it feels like to kind of be pregnant, saran wrap a turkey around your belly and see how it feels. So that was one of our fun things.
Sometimes
but
when
anyway,
I have my back on and it's like I'm running with that, I'm like, I couldn't even imagine carrying this in the front.
I know. And it's not even the weight. There's just everything else going on. It's a trip. I'm going to tell you all. It's a trip.
Yeah, just everything.
Well, audience, we want to hear from you too. We'll ask this question on all the RunDot social media accounts. I'm curious to hear, what is your favorite medal or keepsake from one of your races. Find us on our socials and let us know.
Let's go.
All right, into the main set. Okay, I'm going to be at the marathon on Monday. I will be with the WCVB and ESPN2 all morning running my mouth while Brady is running his legs. But I will tell you, if you tune in, it's going to be a really fun cast. There's going to be all kinds of local anchors, but also John Anderson, who has been with ESPN for years, done a lot of the marathons with me. Amanda McGrory, an amazing Paralympian, and also she's won many of the majors in the marathon. And then Meb Keflezighi, obviously people know Meb in Boston and New York. He's an Olympic medalist. So he'll be on the show with me while we're cheering Brady on. Go, Brady! So, Brady, we want to hear, how in the heck did you qualify for Boston? Maybe you could tell us about your first BQ and even
Okay.
how this one happened.
Yeah. So first BQ. Oh, geez, that takes me back to 2012. I started running in 2011. I mean, I grew up playing soccer.
Yeah.
And then my dad's like, hey, there's this little 5K in town. I was living in Somerville at the time. It's Jingle Bell. Like, there's like 6,000 runners, sometimes 7,
Uh-huh.
right? And it's just a great time. I said, yeah, I'll train for that. Why not? And then I really got into the training. I said, I wonder if there's any run clubs going on, around here. And that's where I heard about, it was the Somerville Striders run by Paul Coyer. You might
Okay.
know that name. He's big in the race
Mhm.
industry, especially around here
Yep.
in New England. So I started running with those guys. Did my first 5K, and the goal. I didn't know what to run, but in my training, I was running, quite comfortably 7-minute miles, which was I look at now and I said, okay, that's too fast for most of the training. Like I was kind of in this gray area all the time, but I
Mhm.
squeaked under 20 minutes on that course, 1955, and I was hooked. I was like, I
Okay.
love this. I love training for it. Was running with the guys. Fast forward a little bit, time went by. I did my first half marathon. That hurt a lot. Ran 145 and that stung, right? And I said, how could somebody do this twice? Like, no way. Well, I was in my younger days and, we would socialize and drink some beers, 1, 2 or
Yep.
many. And my buddy Tom had run Boston like 3 or 4 times at the time. He runs Philly every year and he's like, it's August right now. You have time to train for the Philly Marathon, and you could probably qualify for Boston. He's like,
Ooh.
I'll pace you. He's like, I'll pace you so you don't start out too fast. And with a little buzz, I went home and I signed up, and I woke up the next morning and I look at my email and I'm like, what did I just do? Like, what did I just do? Um, Gosh, and then just training for that, just experiencing a lot of first, like, right? First 14 mile, first 15, first 16. Gosh,
Mhm.
you get over 16 and then there's like, your hip flexors are screaming and you're like, whoa,
Ooh.
what is this thing? It all gets better
Right.
with time, but that first experience, I love working with first time marathoners because I tell them like things to expect. This is totally normal. You're gonna feel this, right?
Yeah.
Um, don't be alarmed. And then, you get up to 18 and then you cut back to 16 and you don't feel those pains. Um, so lo and behold, 2012, Philly comes around. And or 2012, yeah, Philly comes around. Been training with Tom and his wife all summer, putting in the work, and the goal was to just go under 3 hours. That's what Tom wanted to do at 2:52, and he was pacing a 2:58 for the first 2:58 for the first 16, and then he does like he's a big
Then
negative
he
splitter, so
goes.
he'll
Oh, cool.
just cut loose. I mean, he was like. He's like, we get to mile 16 and he's like, all right, see you later.
Ah,
5 minutes later, I can't even see the guy anymore. He's just gone.
right. Right. He's
But
gone.
early on, I'm glad I had him to run with because I had never like tapered and felt this fresh where I'm looking at
Mm.
my heart rate and things are good. And we're clicking out, gosh, what was that? What's the pace? Like just under 7-minute miles and feel good. The
Mhm.
heart rate's nice and low. I was like, Tom, we can go faster. Like, I feel great. He's like, no, we're 3 miles into the
Stay
race.
here.
Then we get to like mile 7, like Fraternity Row, at the Philly Marathon, and we're running uphill, and I'm like, no, Tom, I feel like really good, and heart rate's really low. We can go. Like let's you're going 2:52. I might be able to do that with you.
Yeah.
He's like, no, people are passing us. He's like, those people you're gonna catch. Like you're gonna catch them
Okay.
at like 18, 20, or 22. Like you're gonna
Yep.
catch. Um, So we get up, we go through the half, and now it's starting to wear on me a little bit. We get to 16 and I'm like, okay, now I feel the miles. I'm glad I held back because I would have made that rookie mistake had I not been with them. Like I knew better.
Yep.
But that mistake that like, oh my gosh, I just feel so good because every other long run I've been fatigued and the numbers look good and it's like the heart rate's low and everything just comes together, right? In the
Yeah.
taper. That's why we always say trust the process.
Right.
Yeah, so we went out to geez, what's the turnaround spot? So Tom took off, and we get to the party town out there, and he warned me, don't take any
Manayunk?
pumps.
Is that
Manioc,
where it
yes,
is?
yeah, that's the spot.
Yay!
It's just loud. It's so much
Yeah.
fun. Hit the turnaround. Now it's 4 miles home, and yeah, I was like 23. I bonked, right. I hit the wall, and I look back and I reflect that I didn't take enough fueling. I didn't know back then,
Sure.
right? And I learned so much since then, and now I coach. So yeah, I would like I'm gonna run to the next aid station, walk through the aid station, and that's what I did. And I came through at 3 hours and 54 seconds, gave the mayor a big high five, and qualifying time. I
So cool.
was 30. I think it was 3:05 at the time. It could have been 3:10 that year. It's only
Okay.
gotten faster since I was, oh gosh,
So fast.
2012. I was young. I was in that 18 to 34 age group.
Yeah, it's a big, big age group.
Yeah, so that was my first time.
Oh, and you did it great. I mean, so many people work so hard to continue to try and they just miss it. And you were lucky to get it on your first try.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't have done it without him, and I thank him all the
Yeah,
time for it. And
that's so
yeah,
cool.
he's got kids, and
It's
he's
so
gonna
cool
be
how
a
you remember so much about it too.
very visual memory. I do, I do have.
Yeah. So how did you qualify for this year's?
This year, so I ran New York City in 2024. So
Okay.
qualifying for Boston is a little unique. The
Mm,
qualifying window is they haven't announced it for this year, but it pretty much follows the same pattern. So the day Boston Marathon registration opens, that is the
hmm
qualifying window for the next year. So let's just say it
Okay.
opens September 10th, 2026. Um, or that if I'm yeah, so if we're looking at sorry, for 2027, the qualifying window, let's say whenever Boston opened, let's just say it was
Yeah.
September 10th. I don't know the exact date when it opened in
Yeah.
2025 for this year's race. That's when the
Right.
qualification window opened um
For
for,
next year's.
for next year. So
Yeah. So
I
you
ran
almost have like a year and over like a year and a half at least.
yeah, they've tightened that, and so now it's like a year. So for like 2027, the qualification window was like September 10th, 2026, or 2025. To
To
September 9th,
September of
or whenever
20.
registration is going to
Yes.
open. That is the window. So
I
you have
see.
1 year to do it. It
Okay, 1
used
year
to
to do
be
it.
it used to be the day before, so the Sunday, so
Mm.
you could, like, run the Sunday the day before Last Chance BQ, and you could use that for 2 years.
Oh,
They took that away because it's just been so popular. They added,
so
they
popular.
added some new rules this year, the downhill rule, which we'll talk about, as we get
Yeah.
further along. So yeah,
Yeah.
qualified at New York, 2024, and I like to do my qualifications in the fall. So
Mm.
I've requalified at Bay State, which I used for seeding.
Okay.
Um, because I had tachycardia at like mile 24 at the New York
Oh.
City Marathon. I was going to go 254 there, and I had tachycardia, and I squeaked in at like 305 or 303 something, and it just got me in. Um,
Oh.
it was unfortunate.
Hold on.
No
So we gotta
plan.
explain this to some people because some people don't like they may have heard that word before. They don't really get what it is. So
Yeah.
tachycardia, tell us what that is.
So I have something called supraventricular tachycardia. And I'm fortunate enough that it doesn't happen very often. It's like once in a blue moon. I cataloged this for years. Um,
Okay.
and usually it happens in the hotter temperatures. And what it is there's an electrical signal in the heart that will sometimes go haywire, and I'll get like a second beat, and it just goes through the moon,
Wow.
right? So it took like 6 months to diagnose it. This was many years ago, and the
Huh.
doctor came. Oh, okay, we know what it is. I've got three options for you. Option one, we could do an ablation. Simple
Okay.
procedure. You come in, we pump you full of adrenaline or whatever medicine they use. We get the heart rate up, and when it happens, we cauterize that, it's microscopic, cauterize that
Yeah.
section of the heart. We could put you on a beta blocker, but since it only happens like once a year, um, doesn't really make sense for you. Or you can
Okay.
learn to live with it. If we do the procedure, chances are it's not going to happen on the table, because you're an athlete and, even
Yeah.
pumping you through the adrenaline and all that stuff, not going to
I
happen.
see.
So I took the learn to live with path. But then the
Oh my
frequency ticked
gosh.
up, and then I went to Tufts Medical. So first I went to MGH, got diagnosed. He's like, nothing dangerous. This is what you got to do. This is how you get out of it. And when it does happen, it's like I fought a lion and I'm just gone. Like it's
Wow.
just, the body just gets heavy. I get out of the tachycardia, but as soon as I start putting any effort in, it goes right. The heart rate goes right
Huh.
up. The body gets heavy. So this happened at 24 and a half. And I'm like, okay, I've got about 15 minutes to get to that finish line. I'm going to run walk. And at the time I could run like
Oh.
200 meters, then had to walk 200 meters, had to walk.
Like
And
how high is your heart
squeaked in,
rate? Is
just
it
squeaked in.
is it like 200s?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh.
it will go from like 160 to 200. Um,
Mm,
and with mine, there's no warning. Some people can feel it right
right.
before it happens. Sometimes I can, and I can catch it. Other times it's like a light switch, like you just turned on or off the lights.
That's so
Um,
scary.
so I was lucky enough to qualify there. It wasn't the time that I had trained for.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh, but like
Yeah,
again, so many people want to qualify for Boston and you get to do it while you have tachycardia.
I know. If it had happened at like 22, it wouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah.
It's just where
Is
it
that how
hit.
you say it? Am I saying it right?
Tachycardia, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
so I
sorry that
did
you
try the
have it. I'm not
ablation.
laughing that you have that, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's like you're crazy, Brady.
So I went to Tufts and saw a sports cardiologist there. That's just works with a lot of athletes, and he's like, this
Yeah,
is more common than you would think.
fairly common.
That
Yeah.
that, athletes at your level, right? That
Yeah.
we're just pushing at such a high effort, right? You're middle of the pack, back of the pack. They're running easier, if you will, so their heart rate's not getting as elevated, whereas we're out there for
Sure.
just under 3 hours. We're pushing, we're
Pushing it
running
a
at
little bit. Yeah.
95, 96% of our threshold pace. I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite fast. So,
Yeah.
that put me at ease. It's like, okay, yeah, I remember growing up and sometimes raising my hand, hey, coach, I got to come off the soccer field. Didn't know
Really?
why, right? Never put a finger on it. But then when I
Huh.
reflect back, so I tried the ablation and it was unsuccessful. He's like, oh, we could try again in 6
Oh,
months. And then the
yeah.
frequency went down and he's like, you're probably going to age out of it because you're just not going to be able to get your heart rate as the years go by.
Oh, I see.
Knock
Okay.
on wood, I haven't had it since then, and that was fall of
Oh,
2024.
oh, well,
So
good.
maybe I'm getting older, I am slowing down a little bit.
Yeah. Or maybe it did kind of work in its a weird way. You never know.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Right.
we're glad that it's not happening as often and that,
Yeah.
you still know how to kind of gauge it and whatever.
Yeah. So that
Um,
got me into Boston. And then I did run, prior to this year, I ran October 2025. I ran the Bay State Marathon, which is local to me. It's one of
okay.
the top 10 qualifying races for Boston.
Where is that? What city?
It's in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's a double loop.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
It's advertised as flat. There's a couple rollers on one side of the river, and then it's like pancake flat on the other side, and you do 2 loops.
Oh,
I say it
nice.
has I think I would be slower on a pancake flat. I do like the variation to switch
You
up the
like that. Yeah.
muscles, use the glutes a little bit more, the quads on the downhills.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ran 2:58 to improve my seating time so I could get a lower bib.
Oh, and then you
And
can
this is
move
the
up.
first year for Boston that I do not have a red bib. I'm in the second wave.
Oh,
I saw that. I said,
yay.
what an amazing field of athletes that 2:58 puts you in wave 2. Like, what's the cutoff for wave 1? 2:54? I guess I gotta run faster in the fall.
Oh, so 254 is the cutoff to be in the first wave.
I think that was this year. I don't have the
Oh,
official stat, but if I'm 2:58, it's gotta be, and I'm in corral 1, it's gotta be, it's just
yeah.
somewhere between 2:54 and probably 2:56.
Do you think you're gonna run pretty fast? What's the plan?
Plan is just to enjoy it. I've got the
Okay.
qualification. We didn't have a great winter for training, but we had a great winter for
Mm-hmm.
skiing. So I did a lot of time on the
Oh, good.
slopes. We have just enough miles in me.
Yeah.
Done 5 or 6 runs that were leading up to this that are 16 to 17 miles, Usually
Nice.
I'll get a couple 20s and 22s in there when I'm gonna race it. So just enough to finish it, have fun with the
Yep.
crowds. It's like I know somebody from mile 3 all the way into the finish line every mile,
That's
people I
cool.
used to run with. So it's just like
You'll hear your
had
name a lot.
I've had my best days at Boston, my best race at Boston. I've had my worst race at Boston. I ran in the heat. I've ran on in 2018. I don't know if you were there that year. The worst weather in history. And
Oh.
Boston, no, I've blown up at mile 10 and did a run walk to the finish in 2021 when my daughter was 6 months old and I just didn't train for the thing. But no matter what, Boston does not disappoint. It doesn't matter what experience you have or how the race is going.
Mhm.
It's just so uplifting that it's like, well,
Yeah.
I know I got 16 miles to go, but I got no plans the rest of the day. I'm just gonna get
Y
to that finish line, right? And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
pet the dogs and high five the kids and tell them they're gonna do, just change
Oh.
the
Kiss
mindset.
all the girls at
Kiss all the girl,
Wellesley.
yeah. Wellesley, I lost like my splits just tanked, and I don't know what happened there.
Do you kiss a girl? Like, will your wife allow it during the Boston Marathon or no?
Uh, no, I don't do that, but I'll hug a girl. I'll hug a girl.
Uh,
Yeah, not the
so
kiss.
my
Because if
husband, I
that
threw
ever
under
got
the bus
photographed or
one year.
something, would not fly.
Yes, that's allowed. I said on national television one year that Charlie stopped to kiss all the girls, and he was like, "Carrie, I didn't stop to kiss the girls." I'm like, "I know, I was just making a joke of it." But
Like, why
anyway,
did
I
you
threw
lose a
him under the
minute here?
bus. He's like, "People are gonna think we're weird." I'm like, "No, it's during the Boston Marathon. It's okay. We can do a kiss on the cheek. It's okay."
Yeah, it's
But
part of the race. Yeah.
so, how do you coach your athletes to qualify for Boston? I mean, you can qualify all over. There are some rules and regulations which we can get into now or whenever you want, but tell us how you kind of set that year up or that 20 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever the plan is for them to actually hit their time.
Yeah. So yeah, I do get approached by a lot of runners that are aiming to qualify for Boston or just run personal best. They've already qualified for Boston. So it depends on the athlete. Amanda, who's been on this podcast, she just BQ'd this February for the first time, right? She came to me and she had just had a baby. She's getting back into running. She ran track and field in high school and she was fast,
Hmm.
right? Said, "Oh, we have an engine to tap into. It's just going to take us some time to get there." Her idea was I run 2 marathons a year. And I said, we could do that. Yep. At the time, her threshold pace, her 1 hour pace was a 9:30.
Okay.
I said, we could do that. If we ran a marathon, 2 marathons a year, we're going to sacrifice precious development time. You'll get there. It'll just take a little
Hmm.
bit longer, right? Because you can't have speed and power work, high intensity training, short duration along
Yeah.
with high volume, right? That's just a recipe for overtraining, injury. So you can't have both. So I say if we do 2 marathons a year, that means your race preparation phase is going to be about 4 months in each marathon. So that's 8 months out
Hmm.
of a calendar year. That gives you 4 months to develop, right? Not counting recovery time after the marathon. I said if we do 1 marathon a year, I'll let you run a half marathon in the spring or the fall, whenever you run a spring marathon, it's a fall half marathon. You will PR that, but I won't let you run it at your potential because I'll give you just enough miles to run it at say 96% instead of 98% of your threshold pace, which will still be
Yeah.
faster than previous Amanda. So it's having those conversations of like, I can get you there a little bit quicker if we have 9 months to develop speed power. We make it like a C focused race, just enough miles to
Hmm.
complete. Yeah, and she PR'd her halves at the time, and now she sits on a 7:15 threshold pace, and then she went
That's
out and
wild.
went from a 3:49 2 years ago to a 3:22 now.
So
Um,
exciting.
yeah, and we didn't go all in. We held back a little bit because it's like 3:22, that's more than enough qualifying time. That gives her like a 7 and change buffer because it was 3:22 and
Sure.
change. More than enough. If we went all in, you run the risk of razor's edge, right? That means hydration, sleep, everything comes full
Yeah.
circle. And I say we all have those races where everything comes together and it's just this enlightening race. Um, and it's like a high, and I feel like that's what keeps us going is we're always we have great races, but those perfect races, they're very few and far between. I maybe had two of those, maybe three,
Yeah.
in
For
my many
sure.
years. Yeah, and
Well,
constantly
also we're always chasing the next thing. Even if we hit
yeah.
it, we're like, "Oh, but I could have done this better."
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, so
terrible
it's
that way.
it's It's all like it's in the development work and how
Okay.
quickly do you want to get there. I have had athletes that are just like, I've been running marathons for 5 years. I've always had this dream of running Boston. Um, I train year to year. I do 2, 3 marathons a year. Or they're triathletes and they do 2 marathons and a 70.3 or 140.6. I'm just not, with despite all this training, I'm just not getting any faster. So then when I
Mm,
talk to them, like, what, tell me, like, what's your race schedule like year to year? Oh, I usually run a marathon in April or May, and then I'll do a 70.3 or another marathon in like September. And then I'll run something, December, January, I'll travel over to here. And I go, let's see, 16 weeks, 16 to 20 weeks for race preparation. Mm. Yeah, you're going into your race preparation phase in January, and then you're running that April or May marathon, and then you're recovering and you're going into race preparation for that 70.3 in July or August or 140.6, and then you're running a fall marathon in October, November.
mm,
You're staying in race preparation the entire, your focus is building stamina from one race to the next race to the next race. You're not
yep.
taking a step back and develop speed and power, and that's where the gains are going to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Runners that are new to the sport, they can get away with a couple of marathons a year through experience. In the structured training, they're going to get faster. But when you feel like you've hit that plateau, it's time
Yep.
to take a step back and look, okay, what races and what are our priorities? Are we spending too much time building stamina, which is fine. Some athletes just, their goal is to just finish and that's what they want to do and that's what keeps them happy. Yep. And then others are like, I want to get faster. And then you see, and it's like, okay, I hate to tell you to not race as much, but like you can still do these races. We're going to change these priorities. So maybe it's instead of
Sure.
doing an April marathon, let's run a really fast half marathon in April. That will give us January to April to develop, and then you can still do your
Yeah.
70.3 in fall marathon. And then all of a sudden they see like a good drop in their marathon time and they're like, wow, that was
Yep.
the missing piece.
Yeah. Timing sometimes is everything.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to explain. Sometimes periodization. I often will bring up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And I
Oh,
say,
Arnold.
Arnold, Arnold, you grew up with, and
Yes.
I did too. And I say to athletes, Arnold, he gets on stage, right, and he's winning from year to year. He's doing 1 or 2 events.
Uh-huh.
Um, for him to put on more size, do you think he's doing all that heavy lifting like
Uh-huh.
8 weeks out from his competition, or is he doing that right after his competition? Where he's
Mm.
eating a surplus of calories, doing those like 1 rep max, doing 6 sets of 3 reps to failure, right? You can't do
Mm-hmm.
that when you're getting close to the stage because you're starting the diet down. You just don't have the calories, the carbohydrates, the protein to be able to fuel that. Running is no
Mm-hmm.
different. It's all
This
about
is
priorities.
interesting. It's a great analogy, and I just keep thinking of, I want to pump you up.
Yes. And then he's doing doubles.
Right?
Us runners will do doubles. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very relatable. And when you say
Oh,
it's
it's
the
so
way,
good.
sometimes it really sinks in. They go, the athlete has this aha moment. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh-huh.
then they buy in and it's like, trust the process. Trust me as your coach.
Trust it.
I will
Yeah.
help you. We'll start seeing improvements in the short game.
Mm-hmm.
The improvements in the short game, there's going to be improvements in the long game. It's just, you need
Yeah.
to run a marathon. It's like you need 12, 16, 20 weeks to build the stamina, depending on how long you're going to be on the course. Like on RunDot, it gives me a 12-week race preparation phase. Everything that comes
Mm-hmm.
before that is speed and power development.
Sure.
And then it's 10 weeks of building and the 2-week taper. And, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I don't like to give up that development time unless I have to.
No, and we shouldn't. That's the bread and butter. That's the base. We need to get that in. A lot of people forget that we do need some speed behind all that strength. So we have to remember that. And that's why we have coaches like you to, keep us on track. But once people actually get that time, it's not a guarantee
Right.
that they're in. I mean, that's the hard part about Boston, and it's getting harder and harder every year. Like the time standards are coming down, and we know that. What have they like in the last few years? They've dropped a ton.
Like 10
And
minutes.
part of that,
10
I
minutes
think,
for
is
the young
the
guns.
equipment as well. Like they
Yep.
have people, times are changing in the world of sport. So we have to kind of keep up with that. But yeah, the times are getting faster. There's more people running. Like it's harder. And even
Yeah.
we'll get into charity, but that's even, you have to make you have to get more donations to get in there. So,
Yup, in Boston, the
buckle up.
showing ticket it's high, whereas, some of the other
Yeah.
world, New York, London, it's a little bit lower. London, that's a good
Mhm.
explanation for popularity. They'll get 1,000,000 people to enter the lottery. New York just had
I know.
260,000, their biggest yet. Like, that just
Yeah.
shows that, like, people are embracing the sport. They wanna get in.
Mhm.
Maybe some of it's run influencers or, we're just on this health boom where we're seeing how unhealthy our population is, and people are like, "Oh, running's a really it's fairly inexpensive. I just need a well, it's fairly inexpensive, yeah, until you start buying the shoes."
And then you start traveling and then have hotels and
Yeah, but yeah, you can do it out of your house. You can do it out of your home, yeah, with just a pair of
Yeah.
sneakers. Yeah,
Right, right. I love that. So when you get, you hit that time, you know it. What
yep.
do you do then? Submit it or I mean,
Um,
there's not like a results website for the Boston Marathon folks to go and start handpicking. Like, how does that? I mean, I
yeah.
guess there probably is, but like, how does a person do that?
Yeah, let's break it down.
Okay.
So let's take the 18 to 34 because that's the first qualifying age group. Back when I was 18 to 34, the qualifying time was, I think in 2012, it was 3:10. It was either 3:10 or 3:05. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Mm.
it's now down to 2:55. Uh, like,
Yeah, I said 3 minutes. No, sorry, that's in the older people group.
yeah,
The younger one
yeah,
is even
the
more.
bigger, yeah, the older it's like I'm slowing down just a little bit, and it's like, well, I just
Yeah,
turned 40, but I'm looking at the
yeah.
times here. Wow, when I turn 45, I get 10 more minutes.
I
I'm only gonna
know.
be a tad bit slower. It's almost like it gets easier to qualify as you get older.
Did
If
you say
it
you
depends.
just turned 40?
I just turned 40.
Brady, you're a baby.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on. Sorry, I
So
digress.
yeah, so back in 2012, 2013, even 2014 was a big year because the Boston bombing. Um, but, up until about 2014, the Boston Marathon didn't sell out when registration opened. It usually would
Mm,
sell out when Chicago happened mid-October, because there wasn't enough qualifiers with a qualifying time. Now there's more qualifiers than there is entries. And it was like 2014 that they had to drop the paces by like 5 minutes, like across the
yeah.
board. That's all the way down 18 to 34, 35 to 39, 40 to 44, and so on. Um, I think they could make a better, more data-centric approach because I don't think
Mm,
like 5 minutes for me, a 40-year-old affects it's different than 5 minutes to go from 3 hours to 2:55. Only 10% of no 5% of runners year to year will break 3 hours, right?
yeah.
I said that's a really for those men, the women drop from 3:30 to 3:25. There's very few that can do that. I'm like, that's gonna like Boston's gonna be there's plenty of young people there, right? But it's like I think your big basis of qualifiers are gonna be like, a little bit older. It's
Mhm.
just getting harder. I think they could pay to take a more data centric approach. Um, and look where those big qualifying windows. Do I need 10 minutes when I turn 45?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I don't I shrink it by 5 minutes and like, okay, maybe that will weed some stuff out, but, so what happens is you get your qualifying time, but you don't know what the cutoff's gonna be now because there's more entrants than qualify or than bibs available.
Mm.
Boston Field's about 30,000 this year and about, um, I don't know the exact number, but I'm gonna say at least 18,000, if not 20,000 are qualifiers.
Mm.
I think they had 36,000 people submit times this past year for the
Wow.
2026 race. So they had to do a cutoff, and that cutoff was it was just over 5 minutes. So not only did you have to run a qualifying time, but you had to be 5 minutes under qualifying. So imagine that you qualify for the Olympic trials, and you
Yeah.
hit that time, and they say, "Sorry, Carrie, you can't go."
Whoops, gotta
I'm like,
do it
yeah,
again or just it
you just
happened.
gotta run faster.
Oh,
So
that
I'm
is hard.
it's like, "Oh, what time do I need?" And I always say, "Well,
Right.
5 minutes under is a good enough buffer."
Okay.
2 years ago, that's when they dropped the 3 hour to the 2:55.
Mhm.
Uh, and then and the cutoff was not quite 5 minutes, but just under, maybe it was 4 minutes, 34 seconds. And then new for this year, the time qualifications for 2027 are still the same, except people that are running downhill races If
Yeah.
the net downhill is 1,499 feet,
Mm-hmm.
um, to 2,999 feet, that's how much the net drop is. They're going to add
Okay.
5 minutes to your time, right? Because it's easier. It's
Oh.
easier. I'm like, ah, yeah, downhill is easy until it's not because it hits
Yeah,
your
exactly.
body differently. Um, and
But people
then
used to do that, right? Like they'd go to St. George or they'd go to CIM or they'd go places that
yeah, Cottonwood.
have, yeah, like we know that they're mainly downhill courses, but that's
Yeah,
I think why they're
that's
trying to
exactly why.
equalize that out a little bit.
Yep. And then at 3,000 feet, well, then you get a 10-minute, right? So I'm like, well,
Ah.
just go out and find a course that's like 2,800 feet, and they're only going to punish you 5 minutes. Like, 50, 1,500 feet. No, no, don't
Yeah.
do that one. Like, you might as well just, milk it for everything
Yeah.
it's worth. So that's new for this year.
So that's homework though. People have to I
To
mean,
know
obviously you as a coach you have to know that
all
too,
these
but
things.
people have to just realize it's not just, oh, I can go do this downhill course and it's going to be great. You
Yeah.
now there's rules and regulations, so you need to make sure you know that.
Yep. Yeah. Because they'll add 5 minutes. So you might go
Yeah.
250 as an 18-year-old and run a
Oh.
different course, and you might be 250 and change. So now it's 250. Your time adjusted is 255 and change. Sorry, you didn't even qualify. It's another thing. Um, but from a runner, I'm trying to think. I can't remember their name, but they crunch all the numbers. It sounds like there's really only 400 people running this year that would have been excluded
Oh.
and done one of those races. So I
Okay.
thought it was good. So I'm like, yeah, still, I think you still need a 5 minute buffer right now. We'll
Yeah.
see what the numbers bring, as we get closer to fall.
Yeah, yeah.
We're pretty good at predicting the data, what the cutoff's going to be within 30 seconds.
Mhm.
But it's
Are there
looking
certain
four and
are there
change.
certain races that you recommend to people? Like, this is the perfect time of year to do it, and we don't have to worry about all those buffers and things like that.
Yeah, so us northern, it's always hot down south, right? So if
Yeah.
you're a southern runner, like traveling north in
Mm,
the fall, September, October, ideally October, the weather's more stable, whereas with Boston in April, you just never know. We have hot
I
days,
know.
cold days, windy days. Um, but you're more likely to have those ideal conditions, like come October up in, the northern states, anywhere from Washington to, Maine, right?
Yep.
Uh, so targeting one of those because, you're more optimal to run. I mean, RunDot will tell you if you're going to run a 3-hour marathon in 60-degree weather, but then your, race day decides it's going to be 75 degrees, well, you can't run a 3 hour, that's going to be a
Yeah, you
much
got to
harder
adjust it.
effort. We got to
Yep.
account for that and actually slow down a little bit. So now our potential might be 3:05 because of the weather, right? A lot of
Mhm.
runners will go out and say, I'm going to run 3 hours no matter what. And they get away with it till about mile 16 or 18, and then it just all goes south, right? Because they're just burning through glycogen that much faster. Their heart rate's higher than it otherwise would be. It just all of those things.
I know.
Um, some other good races happen in the winter, like Surf City is a great one. It's flat,
Mhm.
so those that want a pancake flat, there's not a lot of shade there. So even
Mhm.
though it could be 50 degrees, that sun can make it feel much, much warmer. Ventura Marathon has a drop of about 800 feet. That's what Amanda just ran, and that's in late February, which is a very
Okay.
comfortable time. I think it was 40 at the start and 50 when she finished.
Oh, nice.
Just over 3 hours later. So those winter races in some of those warmer climates where temperature is a
Yeah.
little cooler,
Yep.
those are the ones I would bank on. When you get into like April, May, um, up here, like Boston, you just never know the weather. Typically, historically, it's like 55 degrees, right? That's like the 10-year average. But you start getting into May and the northern start, you just never know what the weather is going to do. And if you get
Yeah.
the warm day,
Yeah, or thunderstorms or whatever, all the things.
then yeah, you could have perfect temperatures, and then you could have a wind from the east for Boston, and you're just fighting a headwind the whole way. That was
Have you
2018.
been looking at the weather for Monday? It's
You bet.
cold.
It's like perfect. Yeah,
It's perfect for you. It's cold for me to be
cool for you
sitting out
all.
there.
Yes.
Oh, but I'm happy for you guys because we
Yeah.
have seen it all in Boston, really, like you said. I mean, the spring weather is a little crazy at times. And I mean, my husband's been sunburned. He's been through the rain and the wind and the cold and all of it. So it's
Yeah.
always a guessing game. You never know what it's going to be that morning.
Yeah, it's sitting at 70 degrees right now. It's humid. I had to actually turn on
I
my
know.
AC. I'm like,
I
whoa.
know. You guys
Uh,
usually get what we get, and we're gonna kinda have
yeah,
a funny week where it's been warm, it's cooling down now, we've
yeah,
had tons of rain and wind, so hopefully all that is out of there, and it's just like a cool, crisp morning. That would be
right. There's
nice.
for us here in the north, there's no time for us to acclimate. It's like you could run in the
No,
treadmill at the gym, but it's different when you get the sun
it
beating on.
is.
I mean, it helps to run in a hot environment, but
Yeah.
those that are coming up from the south, whether it's like 80 degrees, yeah, if they get a 70-degree day, they're gonna fare much better.
Oh,
It's like in the
yeah.
north. So weather's looking good. I hope it stands still because
I
the
just hope
winds are
it stays dry. Nobody likes
yeah,
wet, cool,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Get the sun
for
out
the
there.
spectators and
Yep.
all of you guys, it just would be nice if it's dry. So, okay, we've talked about how to qualify, how to train, how to get through it, all that stuff. But there's other ways to qualify for Boston without having to run a time. And we mentioned it earlier with charity, but talk a
Yes.
little bit more about that if you can.
Yeah, yeah. So I used to run, and once I had kids, I used to qualify, but then I would run for the Alzheimer's Association, and I would fundraise
Oh,
what I could. Like we lost my mother-in-law to
oh,
Early onset Alzheimer's
was she
disease.
young?
52.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah,
that is heartbreaking. And we lost my mother-in-law to Alzheimer's too, but she was 70 and
it's
still too
terrible.
young.
Still,
Aw, but what a nice way for you to remember her and to raise awareness for it.
yeah. So I got really involved in the Alzheimer's Association. And learned a little bit about the charity opportunities. Like me being a
Yeah.
qualifier, I just added extra bib to their pool, right? They don't say like they say, if you could raise $5,000, great. We're not going to hold you to it, right?
Oh,
Because I'm bringing them a bib. Whereas, and then I can train with the team, and then they have this nice little
yeah.
coach bus that gets you out to the starting line, so you can sit on the coach bus. It's got a bathroom, like that's gold right there. Like
That
I have a
is
bus in a
yes.
bathroom, and you don't have to go into Athletes Village until if it's your first time, you want to go in and experience it. But then I say go back to your bus if you're running for a
Yeah.
charity, because there's a lot happening in Athletes Village, but everyone's just kind of hurry up and wait, and there's long
Yeah.
bathroom lines. The porta potties are running out of toilet paper. So
Yeah.
anyone in
You're
Boston,
seeing
bring
things you don't
bring
wanna see.
tools.
Hilarious.
Um, so like get back on that bus. Like that's the benefit of running for a charity is they're going to give you a coach bus to get there, and you can
Nice.
camp there until your waves
Yep,
call. Right,
stay
there's speakers
warm.
in the parking lot, so
Mhm.
you know when it's about time for you to leave that bus. If it's raining and it's bad elements like 2018, it's like
Ooh,
you're not sitting out in a field. Right, Athletes Village it's a field.
right?
You're not sitting out of the elements.
Oh, yeah, that
So
is
now
tough.
it's become so popular, and Boston is breaking records every year for how much they are fundraising through their charity.
Mhm.
It's phenomenal. And
Yeah.
I say training for Boston and trying to raise it's like the minimum's like $12,000 now for a lot of these. So that's harder than qualifying. It is way harder.
Right.
Because you're trying to organize events and you're reaching out
Ooh,
to with your 401c letters and you're trying to like reach out to shops and see if people can get donations so you can do a
mm,
raffle, these other things. And it's just a lot of
yep,
work.
yep, yep.
More power to them. I say it's so much harder. And often charities are now they have to be selective because something like the Alzheimer's Association, they get like 30 bibs, but they'll have
Mhm.
over 200 applications, right? So it's like, how do they weed through all of these things?
Yep.
I'll give you a little tip if you're gonna want to run for charity. Um, where you're gonna have the things that they're like looking at when they have more bibs, more applicants than bibs available is they're
Mm,
looking for people with like a personal connection, right? I have that personal connection to Alzheimer's, so I can share the story, share my
sure.
whys, share my purpose behind it. I'm going to immediately go into that maybe pile, and then that maybe pile comes down to like, from 200 to 50. Okay, we got to sort through
Yep.
these. Um, what's their running history like? What's their backstory? They're looking at all of that stuff.
Hmm.
How involved are they in the running community? You can talk about that. Because they're looking at your ability to be able to fundraise.
Wow.
They don't want to whack anyone $12,000 when they don't hit, or $4,000 because they come up short. They want all their runners to be able to fundraise that, right? But they have to
Yeah.
hold them to that, to $12,000 mark.
Oh,
So they
that is
want
a
these
lot of
runners to be
money.
successful. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money, but it is like you said, they raise so much and it's for good causes.
That's so much
So
good.
it's pretty neat when you're out there running and you're knowing what you're running for. That's pretty awesome. Like not only in the race, but your builds, your 10,
Yeah.
15, whatever, 20 weeks of training. It's pretty inspiring. That's for sure.
Yep. Yep. And
So,
each team has a coach, so you have someone that asks questions too. They're providing you
yes.
with, at least one training plan, if not like a beginner, intermediate, advanced, right?
Yep.
And someone to ask questions too. They're having monthly calls.
Yeah.
They have a banquet dinner. The coach goes through. I remember 2018 because the weather was going to be so bad, and the coach for Alzheimer's, she was like, you could start with a poncho, and guess what? You're gonna, you get a couple miles in and you're soaking wet and uncomfortable, but you know what? You're gonna be okay. You can start
Right.
with that poncho, and you know what? You're gonna be soaking wet and uncomfortable, but you're gonna be okay. I was like, okay, moral of the story, you're gonna be
Uh,
okay.
yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the funny thing is 2018. That was a smart recommendation by that coach or that leader because even the people up front still had their coats on. They still had
Yeah.
their ponchos on the whole entire way.
Yep, yep, and
It
that's
was
when Des,
crazy.
she wanted
Yes.
Yuki, who I just love Yuki because he's like I
Ah,
come everyday runner. I think he's a college professor or something.
yeah.
He's an
He's
elite runner, but it's not his full-time gig. And to
no,
see
but
him
he runs
go,
a lot of miles from Japan. I mean, we haven't seen him though in a while.
I know, I still follow him. I think he was injured for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's just put up.
Yuki Kauchi.
Yes,
Yep.
um, I would love to
So
meet.
Uh, yeah, you know what? You can come and meet some of the elites if you come to the expo, and I think you're gonna maybe come to that or
Yes, be
the
there.
the Q&A that I have. I got a lot of stuff going on, so if anyone
Mhm.
wants to find me over the weekend, you got to reach out to Brady. He's got my
I
my
got the full
schedule. It's a
itinerary.
busy one.
Yes,
It's a busy one. Okay, so Boston, we've kind of covered it all. How to qualify, even through charity. But there's a lot of world marathon majors right now, and they're actually adding to it. So Tokyo, Berlin, London, New York, Chicago, and Boston were the original 6. Now we have Sydney, and they're talking about adding 1 or 2 more, and they're in the works of that. So is the process the same for each and every one of them, or are they all different?
they're all different. So a lot of them are
Mm-hmm.
charity driven, but they do have some qualifying standards. So let's go US first.
Okay.
New York City Marathon. They have guaranteed entry application where you have to run a time, a qualifying time,
Yep.
at any marathon. In the qualification times are faster than Boston for the respective age group, right?
Okay.
Because it's not a qualifying race, if you will, but it's something that they offer. Um, Couple of years ago, you could at New York, you could qualify with a really fast half. That's how I got in 2024, is I did a fast half and I hit that. I could have hit the marathon time, but I had the half. So I used that to get in and get that guaranteed entry. They've now taken away the half marathon, but there is still a time standard for the half marathon. If you run one of the New York City Roadrunner halves, then you can get
Oh,
in that way. If you run another half, they're not going to accept you. But if you run New York City Roadrunner half and get that qualification time, you get the guaranteed entry.
which is
Uh,
a fun race, actually.
yes,
The NYC half in the spring is a really fun race. They shut down Times Square, like you're in
yes,
Central Park. Like it's really cool.
yeah. And I had an athlete just go one under 130 there for her first time this year.
Yay.
She's running
Ooh,
Boston, as well this year. So stoked to run
fun.
with her. Um, yeah, so you can get in that way. You can do 9+1, which means you do nine of the in a calendar year, you do 9 of the New York City Roadrunners races. Some of the
Okay.
events offer virtual, so you don't have to travel to New York every time.
I did not
5K,
know this.
10K, you can do the virtual, but
Ah,
then you do have to volunteer for one of their races as well. Um,
hmm.
so run 9,
I am
volunteer
learning
what?
so much.
Yes.
So much. Okay, carry on.
There's the lottery, which the lottery less than 1% got in this year because it was like
Yeah,
260,000 applicants.
it's fun.
Um, and then you could run for charity. And
Okay,
the charity, back when I looked into it, I didn't pull the stats for today.
that's okay.
But just a couple years ago, it was $3,500. So not as much as, say, something like Boston, right? New York can have
Mm-hmm.
50,000 runners, if not more, 55 the year I ran it. So they can just accommodate a lot more runners.
Yep.
Well, that's getting into New York. New York takes place in the fall. It takes the first weekend after Halloween. Sometimes it's November 1st, and it's like, well, I got kids, I can't do November 1st.
It's so
Uh,
hard when it's over that Halloween weekend.
yes,
We've brought the kids to New York to do Halloween before,
yeah,
which is an
that would be
experience.
an
It's pretty
experience.
fun. But yeah. How
Um,
about Chicago?
let's go to Chicago. So Chicago, they do have a guaranteed entry application process as well. That one's mostly a lottery or charity, just like New York. But
Okay.
they do have a small pool of athletes that will do a guaranteed entry time. Back when I ran Chicago in 2017, men had to run under 315, women under 345, and that was it, right?
Uh-huh.
That was it. Now their qualification times reflect what Boston has.
Okay.
So you run 18 to 34. If you're a male, 254 will get you in. If you're a female, 324 will get you in, or 324.59, right? 1 second
Mm-hmm.
under. We'll get you in and get you that guaranteed entry, which is my plan for next year, is to do Chicago next fall. But
Oh,
my
fun.
wife wants to go back, and I said, absolutely, the kids will love it. We'll do
Yes.
it's just so much fun to be had there.
Ooh,
Uh,
I'll see you there too then.
yes, we'll run into each other a lot.
I know. It's good. It's good. How about
Yeah.
Tokyo?
So let's go to Tokyo. So that race takes place end of February, beginning of March.
Yep.
Um, that one, it only has an elite qualifying field. Let me look at my notes because I did have that. It's like under 228 for men.
Whew.
And for women, yeah, these are elites.
Yeah.
Berlin, Sydney, Tokyo. Woman is under 254.
Wow.
But there's only so many but then it comes down to they have about 260 bibs for that elite field. So then it becomes
Yep.
down to, well, how much under 228 or how much under 254 did you run?
Uh-huh.
And then you can get in. Otherwise, it's a lottery as well.
And is there a charity component?
There is
Okay.
charity component. And with all these, there's the Abbott series as well.
Sure.
There's marathon tours and other ways to get in as well. I
Other
forgot to
ways to get
mention
in.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Berlin and London are the next two.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in Sydney, but let's talk Berlin and London because those are the original.
Yeah. Berlin. Um, Berlin does have qualification standards. It is 18 to 44, so it's a much bigger range. So this would be
Okay.
me if I wanted to qualify for Berlin. I'd have to go under 245. I don't know if I'm in that kind of shape right now. A
Ooh.
few years ago, I should have done it.
Ugh.
And then 310 for women in that age group.
Okay. Okay.
So very, very hard to hit time. Definitely favors the younger runners.
Yeah.
40-year-old trying to run 245. I mean, that's just incredible when you look at age and yeah.
It is
Um,
beautiful over there. I was
mm,
super surprised. I went and did the commentary 2 years ago, and this a park right where the gate is. Um, it's so pretty. It's like a small central park right there in the middle of the city, and then obviously you can see that there was war there because there's still some buildings that have damage from that, and like it's just this really cool city. So I'm surprised. Like I didn't race over there, and so just to do the commentary a couple years ago was my first experience of Berlin, and I loved it. So
what an amazing experience to just see so much history there.
so much
Uh,
history
and
right
October
there.
does Oktoberfest usually follow Berlin? I feel like it lines
I
up that way, so you
I
get to
think
enjoy
it's
that
right
too.
after. I mean, I feel like they're getting into it because isn't it like the last weekend of September normally? So
Yep. Yeah,
yeah,
it seems to coincide. So with those traveling,
yep,
it's like I've always wanted to
so
experience
fun.
it too. It's like, well, now I could go,
Go to
hey, white people,
Munich.
let's go take a trip to
Yeah.
Germany. It's like there'll be something for me,
Yes.
yes, but there's something for you and the family as well.
I actually really like Germany. I've been over there to the Adidas headquarters in Herzogenaurach, Germany. And I mean, everywhere it's so different. There's city, it's farm country. It's a beautiful country. But still you can feel the heaviness that they went through and still, at times. So, but that's cool. Okay, so that's a fast one as well.
Yeah,
Charity is
yeah,
there. How
very
about
limited.
London? London is like
London,
thinking about going to 2 days.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
there's so many people that want to run London.
I think is the most popular race in the world, with
It's
over 1 million
wild.
applications, right?
Ooh,
So yeah, you can get in. So London does have qualifying times. It's called good for age.
okay.
However, it only applies to UK residents. So, the time if you live outside the UK, these times don't apply.
Oh,
Um, So for men, it's, under 252 for 18 to 39-year-old age group, and for women, it's 338. But those are to UK residents only. Um,
Uh-huh.
so then it's the lottery, it's the marathon tours or charity would be the other. I did get into London via charity, but then
Okay.
my wife got pregnant and she
Oh,
was going to be like 8 months pregnant. So yeah, that was a no go.
yes. So maybe another year.
Another year, I'll circle back
Yeah.
to that, and that will be
Okay.
another. It's 6 days after Boston, and if I'm
Yes.
if I'm qualified for Boston, I'm not going to not run Boston. So it will
That's
be
your
another.
hometown,
You know,
basically. Like,
we
how
call
far
it
out of the
global
city
heat.
do you live?
I live in Newburyport, so 45 minutes north.
Nice. Yeah. I get it. It's such a fun experience for you to be that hometown guy.
I mean, last weekend when I was out, I saw volunteer jackets on the bike trails when I was out running from
Oh,
previous years. It's like when the warm weather hits, when the warm
yeah.
weather's in
Yeah.
the air, I say Boston is near, and even
Oh,
this far out of the city, you see, runners with, they're wearing
yeah.
their logos, and because everyone knows it's coming. You see jackets from previous years. You see volunteer
Sure.
jackets from previous years.
Yep.
Uh, it's just, yeah,
The
it's
build. The
I'm feeling the
build.
vibes, and I'm not even in the city yet.
Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Sydney's the last one. This was
Yeah.
the first time this past end of summer, early fall, I guess, where Sydney became one of the world marathon majors. And it's a hilly, hard course, but people loved it.
Mhm. Yeah, in Sydney, that one takes place at the end of August, which is actually their winter, so it's,
Yep. So it's
usually favorable
cooler.
weather. They
But
do
it
have a
was warm, I think. It ended up
this
being a warm
yeah, it ended
day.
up being a
Yeah.
slow yeah,
Yeah.
where the pros run all of 2:10, right? Because
Yeah.
of the heat, right?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Um, but yeah, and then I saw something in, like, Runner's World, and I'm like, it's a hard course, like, don't, fret on it. It's a slow course, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's about the experience.
Right.
In RunDot world, we can normalize the environment of any race based on elevation. So if you run 3 hours, let's
Hmm.
say in Sydney, well, you could quickly jump onto RunDot, do a simulation, and say, on that same fitness, what would my expected finish time be for Boston if I ran Boston instead? And you're like, okay, 3 hours there. It would be
Oh,
2:55 at
that's
the same
cool.
effort. So these are
Huh.
other things I can do with my athletes is analyze courses, and see like where might they be the fastest. And Amanda, when we were trying to qualify her Ventura
Uh-huh.
Marathon happens in February. There's also another race that's the same course in April. So we looked
Okay.
at, we plugged them both in as simulations, and then RunDot says, based on your training, this is where we expect you to be in February. This is where you expect to be in April. In April, she was going to be 2 minutes faster, better shot at qualifying for Boston.
Okay.
But the April weather in California could be a little bit warmer. You're
Right.
better off running in February. So these are all those things that we can,
That's
think
cool.
about big picture. Okay, how do we qualify? We can actually run these simulations and RunDot, or I'll have athletes. I'm thinking about these 4 marathons. Which one
Mm.
should I do?
Yep.
Let's pump it into the simulation and let's see what course is fastest for you.
Hmm.
Um, yep, let's go run. Sometimes downhill is not always the fastest because there's a little bit of uphill in those late miles or something,
Yep.
something
Yep.
along those lines. Yeah.
I love it. So
Um,
when
so Sydney does
carry on.
have
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, Sydney does have qualification times. They're faster than Boston.
Okay.
Is So 18 to 34 will just take that first age bracket, 2:53 for men and 3:13 for women.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
so you can get in guaranteed entry there as well. Otherwise it's, lottery and just like all the other big majors.
Yeah. And pricing is different for all of them, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Pricing
So
is
you got to
different as a
keep that in
qualified
mind too.
runner. Yeah. You got travel costs pricing as a qualified runner. What I pay for
Yeah.
Boston is a little bit less than what a charity runner will do or an invitational entry. There is
Okay.
different pricing.
Oh man, we talked about a lot of things. So I think
We
there's some
convert.
new athletes or people that haven't ever run a marathon major or something where you really have to qualify. So, what would you say to them today, Brady? I mean, it gets overwhelming at times, but also it's kind of fun to have that big goal. And I
Yeah.
think you and I both are pretty goal driven people. So, sometimes as we get a little older in life, we need that. We need that thing hanging over our head. So, what would you tell
Right.
someone today if they're thinking about trying to qualify for a race that we've chatted about?
Yeah, remember, look at your training cycle, like how many big races are you doing? I do, I do Coach Connect for the East Coast here, so athletes looking for a coach, I'll interview them,
Yeah.
and a lot of them are time oriented, and if they've been on TriDot or RunDot, I'll see their, profile. So we're starting to talk. Okay, what are your goals? I want to get faster. Okay, I see your race history here. You got a lot of A races.
Hmm.
You're not giving yourself time to develop. So make sure you're getting in, development time if you do want to qualify and you feel like you're not getting faster from year to year. That's often the missing piece is you're just building stamina from one race to the next race to the next race.
Yep.
Then November rolls around and it's the holidays and you're burnt out from high volume training all year. And then January hits and it's like, okay, race preparation phase once again.
Yep. Yep. Here
Or
we go again.
you recover and you get 4 weeks to do some speed work, and then it's okay. Maybe I improve my 5K by 10 seconds. It's those big chunks of change that you want to do.
Well, I'm pumped for you. I mean, you know the ins and outs and all arounds of all of these races, but it's now time for you to just focus on what you have to do on Monday, and that is to have fun.
Yes, that is a have fun. It's nice not to run with a time goal. I've done time
Yeah.
goals and focused on the yellow lines, and then the best days are like let time go out the window. Or I might just be running next to someone, and
Yeah.
they're trying to qualify and go under 3:15, and it's like I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna pace you.
Yeah.
You're gonna be on my hip. And
Yeah.
we're just gonna click out miles, and I'm not gonna let you drop.
That's super
Let's go.
cool.
Let's dig deep because I could do that pace. I could probably do
Yeah.
3:10. So if I do get on somebody and we're chatting and having fun and that's their goal and they've never done it
Yeah.
before, all right, I'm gonna help you out, sir, or ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you. Let's go.
Take the focus off of you and put it on someone else.
Yeah,
I always think that's
yeah.
a fun way to do it. Well,
But I love
best
my fun
wishes.
all the little kids, all
Oh,
the
I
little
know.
kids. It's like my hand hurts.
Are you gonna
I'll
wear a
sometimes
shirt that says your name on it though?
Yeah, I'll usually put a piece of duct tape there with my name.
Okay. So
I'll be in
people
a
can yell for
BAA
you.
singlet. Yeah,
Okay. Great,
yeah.
great.
And I'll be in the
Well,
BAA kit with a pink hat on.
oh, pink hat. Okay. That's a good way
So I
for
stick
people to
out like
find
a
you.
sore thumb. Pink hat,
Yeah.
red shoes. You can't miss me.
I love it. Well, we have one more question. It's during the cool down here, and it's from Roger. He's from New York, and he said, I saw the elevation profile for the Boston Marathon and did not realize how much the first half of the race is downhill. Yes, it is. Now he says, I'm fast enough to make it. He says he's not fast enough to make it into Boston, excuse me. But it made him wonder, how would a coach advise someone to pace a race with a long section that is downhill?
Oh yes, yeah. Boston is it's got a net downhill of 400 feet. So that means you're running downhill for 12,000. You're running uphill for 800. Or sorry,
Ooh.
12,000, 1,200.
Yes.
So the net drop. That's why like wheelchair racing, if any world record that gets set there, it doesn't count because
Right.
because of the elevation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so even effort running, right? Downhill's fast. Like you can run faster. For every like 1% grade downhill, gravity is going to help us out about 8 seconds per mile. So if you're running a 10-minute mile, let's say, and you're running downhill on 1% grade, the equal effort is 952. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, taking off out of Boston, it's like 5 or 6%. So even effort. However, this can blow up your quads right early on
It
from the
sure
pounding. So
can.
it's like a delicate balance. Um, so how I coach somebody to run a course like Boston, it depends. What did their training look like? Did we do a lot of downhills? I like my athletes that are running Boston or any downhill to do strength training, especially when we're like 10 weeks out from peaking, to introduce what I call eccentric loading.
Mm-hmm.
Because the time that you're spending on the ground is a little bit more when you're running downhill, that your quads are contracting a little bit more, your in hip extension for a longer, I mean, we're talking split seconds, but longer period of time, like that is what's going on. We can, we can gear our strength training towards that. So when we're 10 weeks out, if I had the athlete doing split squats, I tell them now with your split squat, we're going to change the tempo. You're going down for 5 seconds. You're coming up for one. You're probably not going to get 12 reps in, but this is what's going to prepare your muscles for those downhills so that you can run a really fast and successful
Okay.
Boston.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
so
cool.
downhill's fun. It's fast. It's very fast when you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
I've done one downhill race that I didn't train for because it was a pivot because a nor'easter came through and the race I was supposed to do in 2023 got canceled.
Oh,
So run a downhill and yeah, it's fast. And I had what 4 weeks to prepare myself, right?
yeah.
Or 2 more weeks to build, and then it was taper. So I got to experience downhills. And, I knew everything to do. I just didn't have the time as I would with my athletes. So I couldn't run it as fast as I would like because I wasn't prepared for it. But
Sure.
uh, even effort, great adjusted pace, or if you have a stride power meter, it gives you power. So that's what I run by. So I just keep that wattage equal, whether I'm going downhill. So if I'm running a 7 minute mile, if I'm going downhill, I might be running 6:30s. But when I'm running uphill, like Heartbreak Hill, I could be running a 9 minute mile, right? I'm
Yeah.
just keeping that power consistent.
Consistency.
Yep.
There are a couple funny tricks that some of the oldie but goodie Dick Beardsley would say is he would do his long runs and then he would pound his quads 2,000 times. He would hit them, he would punch them. So that was his tip back in the day before he
Mhm.
finished second to Alberto Salazar in the Boston Marathon. And then CJ Albertson, who will be racing in the elite field this year, his trick is to put bricks underneath his treadmill so he can actually go even further downhill than his treadmill goes. So, like, you're talking about building those quads up with strength training, doing downhills, and those are just two different ways that some of the elites have done it in the past. So I think just getting I think, yes, we have to physically get our body ready for something like the Boston Marathon, but also mentally knowing that I've handled this downhill section of training or I do a long run on the treadmill with bricks. Like it's more just like training your body, but also training your brain to be able to handle that kind of lactic acid and the buildup of the downhill.
Yeah, yeah, and some of for the late miles, some of my long runs, it's like I'll do the speed work in the second half of the run.
Yep.
But when I'm trying to be a little bit more specific with Boston, I'll do the speed work earlier on so that, I have this loop that I go out and around Newburyport, it's flat, it's 10
Yep.
miles, and then I go to Amesbury and that's 12 miles, and that's got some big climbs in it.
Sure.
So I'll do my speed work on the flats so that I fatigue my quads, get that pounding, and then I'm running
Good
uphill,
for you.
roughly around mile 16 where that 95 overpass is for Boston.
Yep.
So I am getting some good climbs in there. Um, training on the course helps too, which I don't have the time to do anymore. But years ago, before kids would every weekend, especially when
Get
we'd have
out
those
there.
snow winters, it's like the carriage lane. You could just run up and down the
Oh,
carriage lane.
cool.
It was plowed. There was no cars. Everybody is out there running and enjoying it.
That's really neat.
I like,
Well,
yeah.
thank you for your time today, Brady. I know that you've got a lot to do before the big race, but we will see you on Saturday or Sunday. And then for sure, I'll be cheering for you on Monday. And for all of you listening, if you're racing, go get them, have fun, get after it. And maybe we've convinced someone to try running Boston or a major just by listening to you today, Brady.
Yes, so just keep applying. If it's, other than Boston, even at Boston with the charity, just keep applying. You'll eventually get in. New York, just keep applying every year. You'll get in. Just be consistent.
Consistent in training, consistent in trying to get in, and, just
It'll
have
all
fun.
come together
It'll
eventually.
all
Yep.
come together. All right, dude. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the RunDot podcast. Help us out by leaving a rating and review on your listening platform of choice. For more opportunities to learn from our coaches, check out our YouTube channel and follow RunDot Training on social. Ready to train with us? Head to rundot.com and get started for free. Until next time, happy training.